Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Tactical Baby Gear podcast. My name is Beav Brody. This is Alex. On this week's episode, you're going to hear about Alex's drug problem. We also do a recap on the King of the Hammers race week, and we get an update from baby number 4 that Alex has on the way. All of that and more. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, I got a good one this morning. What do you call it when a group of apes start a company? Monkey business. Ba-dum-ching. What's up? What's up? How's it going? I'm tired.
Actually, today I would say I'm better caffeinated today. Yeah? So my body is probably tired, but my mind is not.
You're like ready
because
to go.
I am. I've had actually 2 cups of coffee plus some other
I don't think I had. I did have a cup of coffee this morning and then an energy drink. I'm so ready to just get to it, get things done. I've been out in the desert and it's like a hurry up and wait game out there, and then all the traveling and being stuck in. I'll talk about that in a minute. Stuck in an airport, sleeping on the floor, and then come home to a weekend and I'm just glad to be back in the office. Yeah. I was here at 7:00 this morning doing construction. I'm ready to get things done.
Yeah.
I'm in coma.
See some progress happen.
I want to wrap up some projects. I want to clear my mind of those things and just hit the ground running. So I'm
yeah. Well, I can properly caffeinate now because
you're not dying.
Because I'm not dying.
Alex
say that very loosely, but
Alex has a drug problem. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. Because I just see that. Thankfully, I'm never going to run for office because that tidbit would be the one that just gets pulled out.
That little clip. Alex has a drug problem.
So apparently it's springtime here in Bluffton, South Carolina, and it started in January, the spring, that is, because all the plants, it started just being 60, here. 70. It'd be 31 day, then 60 and 70s, and it's been consistently warm, so all the Easter flowers are starting to bloom now, and with that comes all the pollen, and it seems like ever since middle school, my allergies, I had never had allergies growing up until middle school, and every year it just seemed to get progressively worse. And then as I've gotten older, progressively worse. I've gotten an allergist and all that stuff. But needless to say, pollen hit super early. Wasn't
pretty
prepared.
Much wipes out everybody in the South.
Wasn't prepared, meaning I hadn't been stuck, internally, taking my medication, right. Morning
loading
and night,
kind
of getting it ready. And so I was like, man, I tried Flonase, not to promote a particular brand, but I was trying that last year and would do it very sporadically.
As
needed. And then this year I was like, man, allergies are so bad. I'm going to do it every morning, proper dosage, but just every morning. And for the past 2 weeks, I've been just something's off, but it's that time of year, kids got some crud. Someone's got this bug, you got flu going around. So it's do I just have
whatever?
Do I just have
crap?
The kidness? You know what I mean? Just whatever crud they have, do I have it? I was I just still feel off. And it Monday did some Flonase, worked out.
Flonase.
got pasty white during the workout. Something's off. Tried to have a protein smoothie afterwards, which I did not agree with my stomach. Ended up being in the fetal position for several hours.
I get a text from Alex at 9 a.m. He's like, I'm currently in the fetal position, going back to bed. See you later.
Yes. So, I finally started connecting the dots. I was like, I think the medication, the drugs I'm trying to take to not feel like crap were making me feel like crap. So I'm trying to find new drugs. So for anyone listening, if you want to give me a good combination for the seasonal allergies, I take the generic Costco brand, $5 for 365 Allegras off brand or whatever, whatever that is.
Off brand equivalent.
Goodness.
Alex has
point being, stop doing that. Stomach isn't a wreck. I can drink all the coffee I want now.
There you go.
So that is a win.
There's more to the story. I think it's so funny because Alex always is basically killing himself by trying to prevent dying.
So Beav and I have traveled the world together, and on these long flights, like I was, like to overcome jet lag and stuff, especially like 12-hour, time changes or 6 hours. It doesn't really matter. I was like
16-hour flight.
It's a lot of jet lag. Has to do with dehydration. So I was like, I'm gonna be smart, proactive. I'm gonna drink lots of water, take Pedialyte to kind of give you that boost, get over jet lag faster. I was like, well, shoot, I'll just do a Pedialyte packet, morning and night.
Every bottle of water.
And apparently you can OD on Pedialyte.
This dude's like,
I did not know that.
We come back from this particular trip, and he's like, yeah, I hang out with Beav for a week out of town and eat all this crap. It like kills me. I'm like eating all this sodium.
Apparently there's a lot of sodium in Pedialyte, and it can like start to like crystallize in your like almost in your like ears and stuff, which will make you like have like vertigo, which I was like having. And I just figured it's because I actually eat because I actually eat vegetables and Beav doesn't. So it's like every meal was like a pizza, this, that, and the other, which probably didn't help, but sure enough. And on these trips, like because I'm traveling, like and when dealing with allergies, like I'll do Flonase. So I'm like Flonasing with Pedialyte, and I come home and I'm like,
and then point the finger at me. I can't go anywhere with Beav anymore.
I can't go anywhere with Beav because he's just trying to kill me slowly with his pizza and chicken fingers. Meanwhile, apparently it's me trying to.
It's your drug problem.
It's my drug problem, as we introed this earlier.
Oh man!
So needless to say, I've learned my lesson. Pedialyte is good after a long trip, but in moderation.
Like anything else in life.
It's kind of like beer, like beer's good
in moderation.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Let's talk about the race.
But the Pedialyte after an evening of drinking, highly recommend. Seems to help. I don't have those anymore because I have kids.
80-year-old man.
Yeah. Okay. You're not wrong. I had to think about that one. It's like kids these days get off my lawn. Yeah, I'm about there already. So it's not gonna take much more.
Yeah.
Good thing you get me out of my cave
bubble.
at my bubble, my bat cave, and have to have some people interaction. So I'm not just a completely 80-year-old person,
old man. I will.
But thankfully, I didn't go on vacation. I say vacation. I use that word term loosely with you at the King of the Hammers because I probably would have died out there.
Same with Travis. I had to leave him here. Let's talk about this. Let's do a quick King of the Hammers recap. This adventure starts before we get to the airport. Actually, at the airport. Travis and I get to the airport. We go through security. We get to the little Starbucks stand. It's like we got up at 4 in the morning, and we left at 4 in the morning. We got up at like 3:30, 3:45 a.m. We leave at 4 a.m. We get to the airport. We had a bunch of bags to check because we're bringing all this camera equipment and tents and all this crap out to the desert. So we had to check some stuff. We check that. We go through security. By now, it's probably 4:30, 4:45. No, it's probably about 4:30. They start boarding at 5. Anyways, whatever. Doesn't matter. We're like, yo, it's early. We need some coffee. Going to the Starbucks thing. We're like mid-order at the Starbucks thing, and Travis orders his coffee. He's like, and ice water. I'm like, Travis has been doing good. He's been drinking a lot of water. He looked a little slim, actually, right before I left. I was like, dang, Travis looks a little slimmer over there. And which I don't think I've told you that yet. You're looking a little slimmer. You're looking good. You can see it in your face. Anyways, he's like, I'm like, all right. He's on his water kick. Good for him. He's going with the water. Turns out T-Dog wasn't feeling so good. So he gets his water. And I think he probably grabbed a straw and you like maybe took a couple sips of your water at that point, maybe. But then your drink comes to the counter and the food that we ordered, and he like grabs it and just like walks off. Leaves the suitcase, everything. Walks off. And I'm like, And I see he's like walking to this random table off to the corner. I'm like, oh, he's going to set that stuff down. Come grab his. And he like sits down, like suitcase, everything's still over here. I'm like, all right, I'll grab the suitcases, you know? Well, I get to him and I walk around and he's like covered in sweat and he's just like, has like blank stare in his face. He's like, I'm like, dude, you okay? He's like, I don't feel good. I'm like, all right, like, don't feel good. Like, feel nauseous, don't feel good? He's like, I think so, yeah. I'm like, because he didn't even, like, he's like, so I was like, well, let's eat your muffin, you know? Let's get some food in you and drink some water. And he's like, my arms feel numb. And then he's like, in my legs, like my whole body's just going numb. Like I can't feel anything. And I'm like, that's not good. You know? So we like sit there for a minute and I just kind of keep an eye on him. I'm like, dude, you're sweating. Like, so I go grab some napkins and stuff. And then he's like, all right, I think I'm feeling a little bit better. He's like, man, that was so weird. You know? I'm like, yeah, that's not good. So a few minutes go by, we're trying to figure out what to do. And I'm like, dude, I don't really want to drag you out to the desert. Cause like, you know, it's like the middle of nowhere. There's no infrastructure there. You're living out of an RV. Everyone's off the grid. Like everything's off of generators and whatever water you brought. And, you know, so like being super sick out in the desert would not be fun. Yeah. And the weather's, you don't know what you're going to get. It could be cold. It could be hot. It could be windy, rainy. Like you just have no idea what's going to be out there. So I'm like, dude, why don't you just stay home? He's like, I don't want to make you go out there by yourself and do all that by yourself. I'm like, I'll be fine. Like once we get out there, like Man Spots be out there, like Mark will be out there, the team will be like, well, I got people. I'm not going to be by myself. Like, yeah, like I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. He's like, yeah, but all these bags. I'm like, don't worry about the bags. I got that. Like your health is more important than like whatever. Yeah. And he's like, well, I can't make that call. I'm like, all right, well, I don't think you should go out there feeling like this if you don't feel good. So we wait and like literally we didn't make the call until they called like group 3 boarding now. I was like, all right, well, I'm getting on the plane. Like, and I was like, here, take the truck keys and just stay, you know, get to the doctor, see what's going on. So I board the plane. I get a text later, like probably about the time I landed in Vegas. I got type A flu, you know, or whatever. And I was like, dang, like now I'm like, crap, I'm going to die. I'm going to get the flu. And then I'm going to give it to all these people. I'm like, holy smokes. But then I was trying to think back. I'm like, all right, I don't think we had any real like interaction, touching anything. Like aside from like, we probably grabbed the same bag and moved it and gave it. But like, all right, well, hopefully I don't get sick out here, you know? Yeah. So anyways, that was that whole freaking fiasco of King of the Hammer starts at the airport with all that stuff. You feeling better now, though, Trav? Yeah. And you had a sinus infection. Yeah, he was like...
It's like me, man. Yeah. Why try to be like me? There's only one person in the office that's allowed to just, you know...
Die. Always.
Always.
We haven't all been in the office together for like a week and a half.
No, like we had
like
two other people where you were at. Well, no. So Travis was out, and then we had...
And I was out there.
Then Will was out.
Oh, yeah.
Matt went out. I just kept feeling horrible all week, and I wasn't sure why. Then y'all all get back, and then Brian and I were out. No, Brian was here yesterday.
For a little while. He
went home. I wasn't here yesterday. No, I wasn't here Monday. Came in for a half day. Then I had to actually just watch my kids yesterday for something. So I couldn't like.
Hey,
so it was just like sick. It was like
now I'm nervous.
We were all like. Well, as you texted me, you're like, see, eating that green stuff.
Yeah,
gonna kill you.
I just shake. It's not agreeing with my stomach. I'm in the fetal position and dying. I'm like, see?
That's why I don't eat healthy.
No one got sick off of Oreos.
But yeah, it's been a crazy like 10 days for the TBG office and like in and out.
I mean, I've been great. I've just been working the whole time. I mean, you guys.
Oh yeah. There you go. Let plug that one. I get the gold star on the.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, I get to Vegas. I rent this RV. I get to the first gas station, so I have to drive from Vegas to California, and it's like halfway to LA, right? And there's like one last little like town intersection area that has a gas station and like a Pizza Hut and something else. I'm like, so after last year, I know like, all right, this is the last gas station I'm going to cross. So I need to like fill this thing up with fuel and like be ready to be out in the desert for 5 days and be able to get back to this gas station afterwards. And so I stop, I go to fill it up, and I get out of the door. I open the door, and the pop out, the slider, so it's got the pop outs, you know, they give you more room. And the front of this thing's like hanging out like a foot. I'm like, that's not good. And I remembered then, I was like, that's what that noise was. When this guy was showing me around the RV, he's like, all right, this is this hatch, this is how this works. Da, da, da. We heard this loud bang noise, and we both looked at each other like, what the heck was that, you know? And we just kind of assumed that maybe he left one of the hatches outside open and the wind blew it closed because we couldn't find it. We were like, oh, everything seems fine, looks fine. It's just a loud, like, banging noise. All right, whatever. That's what the loud banging noise was the cable snapped, and it's like a garage door cable coming. It was like, whack, 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 you know? And so this pop-out's like hanging out of the side of the RV. I'm like, oh, jeez. And so I do a quick video and kind of document it. And I'm like, hey, that noise we heard when you were showing me around, I think I know what it is. It's this pop out, and the cable's sort of loose and it's falling out of the side of this thing. He's like, oh my gosh. You know, he's kind of freaking out about it. So I go to get gas. Gas pump's broken. The only one that like I can access with this full size Class A motorhome, 37 feet. And I'm like, so I go driving around, find another gas station to get gas at. And after I push this thing back in, but every time I would take a turn left, and it would like centrifugal force would like push this thing back out. I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be a long drive. So I get it like in, and thankfully driving, like the wind keeps it in and doesn't try to pull it out or anything. So that was fine. I get to the desert, we get kind of situated there, and Man Spot and all the whole crew there, and we have a good time out in the desert. Racing wise though, so race day. Holy smokes. Let me tell you guys about some pizza and a fire truck, okay? There's this place out of San Diego called Dang Bros Pizza Co. Dang Bro Pizza Co. But they got a brick oven, pizza oven, built in the back of a fire truck. Right. It was so awesome, dude. It was so good.
Yeah, I was going to say, was the food actually good?
Oh my gosh. Trav, this year, dude, they had all kinds of food vendors. Like food trucks, tacos, burritos, pizza, like you name, like all the kinds of food trucks out there this year. So it was awesome. Because I mean, I went to the grocery store and got stuff, but there's only so much cooking you can do in an RV. So like, you know, I got a burger from a food truck from Habit Burger. They're based out of Salt Lake City, I think. Anyways, Habit Burger, and I did get a pizza. And then they had like a taco truck and stuff. But I made my own tacos on Tuesday. We had Taco Tuesday. I made tacos in the RV. Anyways, pizza in the fire truck was amazing. Hung out with BJ Baldwin there, eating pizza, and Tori. And I know I mentioned last week on the podcast that trying to get him on the podcast. I talked to him about it. He's down to do it. So we'll have to figure out logistics on getting him here and trying to do the podcast, and if that makes sense and works with people's schedules. But race day is early morning. Those guys get started, off to a good start. Here's what's interesting. We didn't run qualifying. So in racing, typically you have to qualify. The position in which you qualify determines your starting position in the race. Right. So if you qualify 6th, you start in 6th position or whatever. If you don't qualify, or if you can't make it or whatever, you're starting in the back. A lot of times you have to qualify you have to start or whatever. But anyways, it's not mandatory. So like, well, if you don't qualify, you're just starting in the back. And there were so many people breaking stuff because the terrain is so unbelievable that people were like breaking stuff and like, well, I can't even race now. My truck's broken from qualifying. So we were like, Vaughn was like, yeah, I'm just not going to qualify. I'll start in the back. I don't really care.
My goal is just to finish.
Like, I want to finish the race. I don't need to break it before we even start.
Yeah.
You know, we have repair parts and things like that, but there's only so many of them. So if you break something and you have to use it and then you break it again in the race, we know where the weak points are. So we had plenty of spare parts. And so we thought, and, but a lot of people didn't qualify. So even though he started in the back, he was actually in the middle. He started in like 17th position out of 40 or something. So it was like, whatever. You're just racing the clock anyways. It's not like you're trying to be the first one across the line. You're just racing from when you started to when you finish. Yeah. You're just racing yourself. So it doesn't matter really where you start, except for here's the pro and the con to it. You don't qualify, you start in the back, no big deal because you're just racing the clock anyways. But what I kind of determined through this, if you do qualify and you qualify up front and you start up front, you have a chance of getting through the really bad areas in front of the traffic jams.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that was something I learned this year, because if you start in the back, then everyone else that sucks, that gets stuck in some of these valleys and crazy terrain, you're stuck behind them. You're just sitting there. And I saw guys sitting in one place for like 2 hours, in this one valley, and everyone's trying to winch, and people are driving over other people's hoods and like rolling on top of other vehicles. I mean, it's bonkers crazy, because in King of the Hammers is like, it's unforgiving. There's like high speed desert stuff going into rock crawling and falling down cliffs and all this stuff. And you just got to get through it. It's crazy. But so we broke some stuff. We had 3 Jeeps out there. John was killing it. He was crushing it. He ended up breaking a tie rod end on the course, like right in front of a spectator area. And I've got that on video. And he like came down this big, it's like a 5 foot straight vertical drop. And you have to like let the front end drop down, and then you have to motor. You got to hammer the gas in 4-wheel drive and get the front wheels to pull the front of the Jeep back out. Then you the back falls down the drop, and then you keep going. Well, he ended up on the front left wheel and has put so much pressure on a tie rod, and it just snapped this like 1.5 inch solid piece of steel. Just snapped it right off. And we had more. He had already replaced it once before he got there. This is like 100 and something, probably 100, at least 100 miles into the race. He had snapped one previously. They repaired it in the pits. And then he snapped it again, and he had already used his spare. So he's like, crap. So he hikes all the way back to the trailer and gets a whole new assembly, hikes all the way back out to where he was. And this is like miles through the desert. He's like hiking and then bringing back this huge, big tie rod end, big assembly. And people are like, that dude just hiked all the way back and got that. And I was like, John, I got the razor. He's like, nah, I can't take any help. Like, I have to go get it myself. I was like, oh, jeez. So he goes, gets it, brings it back, repairs it, back on track, good to go. And then Vaughn and Nate come through. They go through the drop. Vaughn ends up at some point with a broken battery terminal. So the front of this thing on this big drop, the front hits, it breaks contact with this battery terminal, kills all power to the Jeep. So he can't hit the gas pedal to motor the front end out of it. And he's like teetering up on the front bumper, about to roll this thing straight over. And everyone's like, oh, and then it just slowly kind of rocks back and slams down on the back. And everyone's like, oh, and he finally gets it started and keeps going and gets through that. But they eventually all got stuck in a traffic jam in this valley. There's a bunch of people there, and like, this was probably 6 p.m. at night, and they start the race at 8 a.m. So they've been out there for like 10 hours already. Yeah. And they're stuck in this valley. There's a huge bottleneck. Someone's flipped over and someone else is on top of someone else, and there's like no getting around it. And they're like, these guys are going to be here till like 1 a.m. And eventually they have a curfew on the race. They call the race at like 10 p.m. anyways, because it just gets dangerous. I mean, it's dark and you've been out there all day and you've no food and water. Like, it just gets dangerous. It's not healthy. Yeah. And so they were like, yeah, these guys are going to be out here all night. So like, let's just call it. And they turned around and came back. Vaughn ended up actually stuck somewhere else with a nut with a broke. He broke his last tie rod. That's the weak point on this. We got issues with like steering parts. Anyways, he ends up stuck in the desert, and with a broken tie rod, a fan of the Man Spots shows up on a dirt bike. Like, Man Spot? He's like, all right. So this dude, he's like a local dude, and they're like way out in the desert somewhere, some local guy out there. And this guy's dad or somebody comes with a side-by-side, gives Vaughn a ride back to the RV. And then he tells him what's going on. He's like, and Mark, the co-driver, is sitting out in the desert with a broken Jeep by himself. And one of the crew guys takes the chase truck and a welder and goes back out there and welds it up out in the desert to be able to put it back together to drive it back to the RV so that they could load it up, because Vaughn had to finish the race, pack everything up, load it up, and then head back to Vegas and fly from Vegas to Mexico the same night of the race. So he was like trying to get the hell out of there. It was crazy. It was crazy, but it was fun. It was good. We put on a good show. There's a lot of TBG fans and customers out there, so that was cool. A lot of kids out there. It's a really cool sport to see a lot of families. Like they're out there, they're hanging out. A lot of them are just there to spectate. They're not, there's a lot of families there that are just, camping out for the week. It's like their thing they do every year, and they're into the racing, and, it's just cool. It's fun. People are out there with crazy pets. I saw this woman with a pet possum feeding it French fries at the food truck. Vaughn's got a video of it. It's hilarious. And there's I saw a lady.
I've got questions.
I saw a lady out there last year with a goat. This year I saw a lady with a sheep. And it's crazy. It's nuts. It's cool though. I mean, it's a blast.
So is the sheep in the RV? What is happening?
No, she's walking around the pit area with this sheep on a leash.
I have seen people walking around. I've seen at a park, and I don't know where I was walking a duck.
That's like people that have their cats on a leash. If you're listening,
I think it was Central Park. Someone had there was a leash on a duck.
Wouldn't surprise me.
It's that's a first.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of a sheep. I mean, dude, it's people have pigs.
This thing's walking around. It's so crazy.
I mean, maybe they're making their own clothes.
I'm telling you, selling wool coats out at the racetrack.
Yeah. Goes from 100 degrees to 40, 30 degrees.
Yeah, it was cold though. So most days it was 30 degrees and windy out there. I posted a picture and I'm I brought a ski goggles this time. I had my beanie. I bought a little face mask out there and hoodies and sweatshirts because it's cold and then windy. And it's just a sandstorm, dust flying everywhere. It's all in your nose and your teeth, and you got sandy boogers, and it's awful. That side of it sort of sucks, but you get used to it after a day and you're like, it's just that's just it for the week. Just deal with it. The side-by-side's fun. You go mobbing through the desert on the side-by-side. Those things are fast, man. These things go, that one probably goes 60, if not faster. That's as fast as I'm comfortable going in that terrain. I mean, that's hauling. And you're in the sand and you're just rah, 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 rah. And it's bonkers.
That would be fun.
It is all the fun. It's really fun. And every time I ride in that thing and I'm out there, I'm when I get home, I'm buying a side-by-side. And then I get here, I'm there's nowhere to ride this thing. Yeah. When I would take it a trail behind your house and just run into a tree. Mm-hmm.
That would not be good.
No. It'd be fun right up until that tree stops you, and then it would suck.
Yeah.
Travis, you've done that, huh? Yeah. Well, LC did that. You were sitting there co-driving that one. Anyways, Mint 400's coming up in 3 weeks. We'll be back out there in Vegas doing some more racing. That one is less intense. It's more of an endurance, long distance. It's close to 400 miles. It's two laps, 170-ish miles each, 180 miles a piece, something like that. Roughly 400 miles, and it's not as intense of a terrain. It's more high-speed desert and not so much rock crawling,
and crazy all that stuff, right?
So there's not as many rollovers unless you just catch air and land wrong, and then you're rolling. And rolling at a high speed is dangerous. Rolling at 4 miles an hour, it just rolls over, and you're just sitting there, and then they flip you back over, and these guys crank it up and just keep going like it never happened. But rolling at 100 is you're done.
Hopefully it's just the vehicle.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is dangerous. People die out there. It's no joke. People are oh, this is just fun and cool, but that's dangerous. You got to be careful. You got to really be on your game. So that's my racing story from King of the Hammers.
Well, hopefully
there's a highlight video on Instagram.
Hopefully you won't get stuck this time coming home.
Oh, yeah. Every single time. Let's talk about this traveling. Actually, I'm really let's talk about travel for a second. I love to travel. Traveling. Alex and I have traveled the world together, like you said, and we've been all over the place and done really cool stuff and seen things and all that. But as my kids get older, they have such a voice now. Hey, you guys know I'm leaving town. I'm going to be out of town for 6 or 7 days, and they start getting upset now. They're crying. I don't want you to go, and da da da. So that makes it harder to leave because they're upset that you're leaving, and that sucks. It pulls on your heartstrings, and you're just man, they really don't want me to go. It's kind of sad. So you're dang. And then there's the side of it that I'm leaving my wife at home by herself to deal with all the things, and like they're high maintenance. They got to be all over the place. Got to cook dinner. Like it's a burden on her. It's a burden on the kids. And then when we get out there and we're, it's like, and no fail every single time. There's a flight delay somewhere. And this time it's same as last time. Travis and I got stuck in Vegas last time. I got a hotel at some ghetto hotel. We went and ate some Chinese or Japanese steakhouse next door. This place was ghetto. We went there just to like lay down. Did we take a shower or something? Anyways, we just like laid down until like 2 a.m. and went back to the airport. It was terrible. This time it was like a half-hour delay, and I was like, I'm going to be close missing. Yeah, I could getting close to my connection in Dallas, but like it's only 30 minutes, and I'll still have 30 minutes if I'm lucky when I get there, assuming there's no other delays. We get on the plane. I'm like, sweet, I'll make the connection in Dallas. And they're like, all right, boarding's complete. Put your seatbelts on, all this stuff. And then like 37 seconds later, folks, I'm sorry, I've got some bad news. The plane has a flat tire, and we're going to have to deplane everybody. This is going to take at least an hour and a half to 2 hours. If you need to make a connection, please take this thing, do this, do that, I'm in the back of the plane. I'm like, crap. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be the last one off this plane to deal with any gate agents, to do anything, to figure this out. I text you. You're like, you better call the 800 number. I was like, yes, the 800 number. So I call.
I'm like, enough. Yeah.
I'm like on the phone with them before I'm still in my seat, like waiting for people. And I'm on the phone with them already, trying to rebook stuff. And they're like, well, that was the last flight of the night, so you're not going to get home till tomorrow. I was like, no. No. Can you get me somewhere else? And so I'm like, well, can I get to Charleston, or can I get to Hilton Head, and all that stuff? I was supposed to get home at like 10 o'clock that night, like final destination in Savannah. And they're like, well, we can get you home at like 11 a.m. tomorrow. Or actually, it was like noon tomorrow in Savannah. I was like, well, what about Hilton Head? And it was like 11 a.m. It's like an hour sooner. And it's easier for Brandy to pick me up there and all this stuff. So I was like, all right, cool. Get me there. Except for that meant getting back on that flight, the Dallas flight, because the other side of it too was like I had checked bags on that, and I didn't want to separate from all the bags and camera gear and all this different stuff and deal with all that later. So like I'll at least stick with this plane because everything's on. They're not going to unpack my stuff off the plane.
Yeah. So
I was like, let me stick with this plane and get to Dallas. It'll leave in 2 hours, and they fix the tire. I'll get to Dallas, and then I ended up having to sleep in the Dallas airport. So then I'm like, I'm gonna go to the lounge, right? It's like $59 to go to the lounge. I get to the lounge. I went and ate. Well, I ate some barbecue. Yeah. I like me that barbecue in Dallas is good. Yeah. So I go to Dallas. I hadn't eaten since whatever all day. I'm like, give me some barbecue. I'm going to the lounge. I eat that. I drink a beer. I go to the lounge, and I'm like, hey, my flights are all screwed up. American's getting to this, that, and the other, blah, blah. This is the American Airline Lounge. I'm like, is there any chance I get access to the lounge? And he's like, nah, sorry. I'm like, well, what's it cost? He's like, it's $59. I was like, pfft. He's like, but we close in like 20 minutes, so it's really not worth it. And I was like, you close?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's not 24 hours. And I'm like, it's like 9 o'clock at night. I was pissed. I'm like, well, is there any other 24-hour lounges in the airport? He's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm like, you've got in the Dallas airport, there's nothing open 24 hours?
Yeah, I'm surprised by that.
I was pissed. I'm like, God dang it. So I went back to the barbecue place, drank more beer. And then I went but that dude in the lounge hooked me up because when they switched my flights around, they screwed it up. And he was like, well, let me see your boarding pass. I was like, that's the thing. I don't even have a boarding pass because they had to switch all my flights around. It won't let me check in online. I can't get my boarding pass through the app. He's like, huh? He's like, let me see, what's your record locator? He looks it up. And he's staring at the computer screen, and he grabs his chair and like pulls it under him and sits down while he's still looking at the computer screen. I'm like, hey, you just grabbed your chair and sat down. That's not good, is it? He's like, hey, somebody screwed this all up. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, hold on a second. He's like this Asian dude. He's like, yeah, they really screwed this up. He's like, they didn't connect your new reservation to your old reservation, so it's trying to make you pay for it before you can check in. I was like, no. He's like, hold on. So he's trying to fix it. He doesn't have authorization to fix it or doesn't know how or something. So he calls up to the second floor in the lounge to this other guy. He's like the manager guy there. And, or he goes, hey, do you know where the American Airlines customer service thing is next door? I was like, yeah, it's packed though. There's like 1,000 people there. He's like, yeah, I figured. He's like, I didn't do this for you. I'm like, okay. So he calls upstairs. He's like, hey, I'm going to send this guy up. Can you help? So he's like, hey, go upstairs. See this dude. He's like, I didn't do this for you, and you bought a day pass. I was like, okay. So I go upstairs. He's like, I'm like, hey, this is messed up. Da da da. He's like, all right. He's like, whoa. He's like, all right, hold on. Prints me my boarding passes. I'm like, good to go. I go get a cup of coffee over there because I was there, and I was like, why not?
Yeah.
And then so I
enjoy this 5 minutes in the lounge.
Yeah. I was so upset, and then I went and sat and waited, and then finally went to sleep and woke up at like 3:30 a.m. for my 5 a.m. flight, so I could go over to the right gate, check the gate, make sure it hadn't changed.
Yeah. Which
it did. And then I had to get on the tram right across the airport.
Does that run 24 hours? I was hoping that you were going to do. I hope.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So when there's like no flights, you're in the terminal that you're in?
You can walk through.
Oh, that's right.
Because I sprinted through it last time. Travis and Ryan.
We've done that from like a D to B kind of.
You can walk it or run it as I've done. But the tram doesn't run all night because where I decided to lay down for like 2 hours, that thing was going back and forth. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then eventually it just stopped. Yeah, and then in the morning again, it started running again. So they obviously have it scheduled. But
got home, got all your bags.
Yeah, but so here's the thing. It wasn't even like Dallas to Hilton Head. It was Dallas to Charlotte to. So I was like another connection, all this crap. Finally get home, bags made it, all that stuff. Kids were super pumped to see me. I was there later than I should have been, and I was exhausted. So that meant I spent the rest of that day like in bed, sleeping off like this ridiculous trip, which isn't fun for them. They're all just like, Daddy's home, but he's in bed, and don't mess with him because it's like, it sucks, man. So it really takes like the desire to want to travel is like diminishing quickly because I'm like, it gets so screwed up. Aside from like a quick overnight trip that you and I have to do for some business thing, like these long trips to do stuff are just like starting to fade away. It's just making it very difficult, and it's hard on my wife, and she doesn't, it's like, she's like, great, you're going to be gone for another week. Awesome. And then that just screws up scheduling at home. And it's like, I've got to undo like just all the bad things that come with that. And when I get home, it's like, all right, back to this other schedule. It's tough. It's tough.
So big Valentine's Day gift plan though, to take care of the burden.
Yeah, we're gonna go out to dinner. But
is Valentine's big in your home? Like from
really.
like a Brandy aspect?
She just wants to eat dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do anything crazy. We don't do anything crazy for any holidays, really.
Yeah, we're not a big like.
We're not very big or good gift givers. Either one of us. Like I'm suck at it. And so does she. She knows it. I'll call her out.
Yeah. No, we thankfully there's never huge expectations on that for any real holiday.
The only thing I can't miss out on is a card. If I don't give her a card, slice my head off.
Yep. I did that once.
Oh, I've done that too.
On Mother's Day.
I'm like, I got you this and flowers and that and all this stuff. But like, she's like, but you didn't get me a card. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, never forgot the card again.
I forget what it was. I think it was after Anders was born. It was the Mother's Day after Anders was born, and like I forget, like it was one of those. I'm gonna go get the card right, and then like something just kept coming up. Like I like go deal with the kid, go deal with this, and it was like so shame on me for kind of waiting until those like 3 days beforehand, and so like the day of like I knew it, so like I hand wrote kind of something. But it was like
didn't
like, you couldn't give me a car on Mother's Day. I was like, oh my God, I'm a failure.
I suck at life.
It took a little while to recover from that one.
Yeah.
So like every event, if you would, that worthy of a card. Make sure I like what I should do is I should buy some stockpile like some ones and just have at the office just
to get Will to create some for me and print them out.
Oh man! So anyone, for all y'all listening, make sure you have a card.
Yeah,
put some thought into it.
This will be late for Valentine's Day.
They likely do a lot for you.
Yeah, Brandy didn't care about anything at Christmas. There better be something in her stocking. and everything else.
You know, that is a very appreciated. It seemed like I don't want to stereotype here, but it seems like with women especially, like, because stereotypically they might be the ones that have bought all the stuff for the kids for the stocking, you know, and so like dad might get some stuff in the stocking, you know, all the kids get something, but like who's looking out for mom's stocking? And like there might be like one thing in it. And I tell you what,
it better count. It better be good.
The times that I've gone out of my way and filled up her stocking when she didn't know about it have been better than whatever, you know, grandiose present gift I might or might not have gotten for like Christmas. So a little tidbit there.
Yeah. Better be something good in there.
Yeah.
Better be something good.
So
yeah. I don't know. Man, I don't know what time is it. I don't even know how long
I'll give you a dream pee update.
Yeah, how's the? Actually, I want the peeing in the bed, warm water updates. I also want an update on your wife's pregnancy and where things are at.
Oh yeah, that whole thing. That fourth child thing.
Fourth child that's coming.
Okay, so for if anyone's first time listening, or at least didn't listen to last week or the week before, we're nighttime potty training the kids. They're about 3.5, a little over 3.5. So we're trying that. We have gone to putting on.
They're riding the struggle bus with this one.
We've the one of the kids seems to have it down pat. The other one hit or miss. So the kid that was hit or missing, I decided like, all right, before we go to bed, or we'll pick him up, we'll get him to go pee on the potty. Hopefully that'll buy us some time and start training his bladder. You know, it's just they gotta train the bladder, and he was just, you know, fighting it. And I was like, well, how do we get him to go to the bathroom while he's there? So I was like, warm water. So we started using that trick. We, you know, pull the pants down, pour some warm water there, help get the flow going. We got it down pat, you know, where I'm holding him, we pour some water, he goes, he doesn't seem to wake up that much, you know, kind of don't disturb him as much during his sleep. So anyways, that's a little context for it. So anyways, that's been going well. So he's been waking up, like both of them are having tried, you know, pull-ups, which is, you know, again, what you want. I don't want them to default back into, you know, using it as a diaper. Because during the day they don't have any issue. They'll take themselves to the number one, number two, doesn't matter. They're just like, Dad, I'm going, come wipe my hiney. Like, I was on the phone with like FedEx yesterday. My kid's like, I need you to wipe my hiney. And the lady was like, what? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna multitask right now. I'm doing some dadding while I work. Don't take this weird. When I flush the toilet, is not that I've been talking to you while I'm on the toilet. I'm literally just cleaning the kid's hiney and I'm flushing his stuff down the potty. She thought it was hilarious.
Is this Casey?
Yeah,
that's funny.
It was, but and then he went back into his bed and proceeded to not nap, because that's what 3.5-year-olds don't do. So
put them in a FedEx box.
So anyways, thankfully that's like leading them to, like, you know, obviously we're not having to do all the sheets anymore. The pull-ups are dry, so that's fine. But now we've segued into, like, I can't tell if they're like sleepwalking or what, but like one will get up and just like come to the door and open it up and be mumbling, you know, like yeah. And I'll pick them up and put them into bed. Okay. Then an hour later, the next one wakes up and like comes in, and then pick them up, put them in. So it's like an alternating, like one to the other. So it's just, you know, it's like 2 weeks now. So we have no clue. Because like in the beginning, it was like, I don't think they know what's happening.
They're like sleepwalking.
They're like sleepwalking.
That's what we say about Kendall.
You know what I mean?
So
like
creepy about it though.
So it's like, but then other times I'll have like a conversation with them. So it's like, how do I like, you know, kind of not reprimand, but almost like, look, you like get it. We tell them like, you can get out of bed for emergencies or go to the potty. And then we've been harping on what like an emergency is, you know?
Right.
And like, it's not like they get up trying to pull one over in the sense that like, oh, like I came out here for an emergency. It's like, they're just getting up. And I'm like, wandering. But so it's like, why are you just used to be good sleepers? Like, why are you just like randomly waking up now? So I don't know if it's a cognitive thing that just starts to happen at this
or something. Because Kendall went through the same thing, but she was so creepy about it. And she She was probably 3-ish, maybe 4. Yeah. And she'd like 2 a.m. come walking through the house and open the bedroom door, and it would be like, and then she'd just be staying like that. The little creak from the door would wake me up, and I'd like look over at the door. It's like slightly backlit. This silhouette of this little girl just standing in a door. What was that movie called? The Ring or something? It's like she's just this creepy little girl standing in a doorway with her head like down, just staring. And I'm like, that is like, she almost got shot the first time. Yeah. And then I'm like, Kendall, what are you doing? And like, she wouldn't say anything. No. So I would just pick her up, carry her back, put her in her bed, and like lights out. Like nothing ever happened. And I'm like, hey, what were you doing walking around the house last night? She's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean when I'm talking? You act like a little creepy little kid. That's what I'm talking about.
But mine, they'll like mumble and say, Daddy, I'm like, oh. So it's like they know they want me and they know that I picked them up, but then
yeah.
But so anyways, I like last night I separated them. Like one was in like just put them in the guest bed, and thankfully there wasn't a fight going to bed over it. But that seemed to help only because like it's like I go to put one. And it's like I shut the door, and like that's just enough to wake the next one up. So then they're kind of tossing and turning. 15 minutes later, they come back out, and you're like, damn it. So at least I got a little more sleep last night with it. But I don't know if y'all got some secret sauce that y'all want to share with me on overcoming that. So like it seems like the bladder training is moving in the right direction. The Dream P, as we're calling it, is working for us. At least for the one that seems to need a little more help. But we've got the kids that just seem to want to get out of their bed now, but not in like a trying to be defiant way, just getting up and
it's got.
And as we segue into this next kid, it's like I need these like next 4. What are we on? 4 months or 5 months left? That it's like. I need some sleep now. No, and especially the wife, like she needs as much sleep as possible because.
So how far along you guys?
Yeah, so we just had the.
I'm gonna have me a little birthday buddy.
We just had the 20-week anatomy scan. That kind of one you normally get between like 18 weeks and 20 weeks.
You normally would find out the gender.
Yes, which the tech did. We're keeping this one a mystery. We were going to keep our first.
Did you try not to look at the monitor just in case?
No. Well, during like when they were like, "Hey, I'm like specifically looking for the equipment,
the gender."
I was like, they turned off the screen. You know what I mean?
I like how Alex is like always beats around the bush with his words, like the equipment. You know, like they went number 2.
So. They turned off the monitor, when they were doing that inspection. But we were going to keep it a mystery on the first pregnancy. Found out we were having twins. That went out the window. Then Anders was just that much of a surprise that we had kids that weren't even 2 yet when we found out we were having the third one. So this one now is just like, I mean, we had an IUD. Right? When I say she had an IUD. Defied those odds. So it's just like, all right. It's not clearly I'm not in control as much as I want to be in control. It's in someone else's control. So we're just like, it'll be what it'll be. And but thankfully the anatomy scan came back. We're told from as much as they can tell, on those scans that this baby's healthy, growing properly, which was a big scare obviously in the beginning. Yeah, so our blessings and our prayers were answered there. That from what we can tell,
on the surface level,
everything seems to be, the brain development seems to be there. The heart development, seems to be there. Limbs and fingers and toes, from what you can tell, all those ratios seem to be in line. So very, very, fortunate that was a good report on that. Good. So she'll have her. Oh, I tell you what. So, how did Brandy do with the they do the almost the diabetes test? What's the
gosh, I'm having a complete diabetes.
Yes, would they do that drink?
I don't remember.
Because I tell you, so like there's a 1 hour one they do, a 1 hour test or a 3 hour test. And apparently it was described to me that like this drink that the women have to take. She was like, imagine putting like orange crush in a microwave, like nuking it so much that like all of like the carbonated water comes out and you're left with that wonderful syrup. Now drink that, keep it down when you're already pregnant and just everything might or might not be feeling good, and hold on to that for like 3 hours so we can test your blood sugar spike. I was like, that sounds miserable.
I don't remember.
So she couldn't handle the one. So she's like, I have to do this other test because like I always feel the other one because I'm like, as soon as I drink it and like 30 minutes later I vomit, and they're like, well, come back for the next test. She's like, all right, let's screw that. So anyways, apparently it's just absolutely miserable. And it's like a thing. Like even like the tech was like, I failed mine. It's like the constant thing. Like when you're pregnant, you have to do that test. And like women are like, it's like, oh, like it's almost like, what was it, the Hunger Games? Like they all throw up the 3 fingers or something. It's like, are you doing the diabetes test today? Like, like, oh man, I don't know that.
I don't recall anything about that. I know she did it, but we were both working. We were both working at the time, and I feel like she just like she did it at work or before she went to work or something, and I was already gone. Like I don't really remember.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you think you won't forget because it was such a big deal that like, then you're like, I don't remember at all.
Well, it's just even
the
just
crap
like
that you're going through.
I was like,
it seems like it sucks so bad because you're up every hour and everyone listening, like everyone's going through something and they're like, this sucks, or they're about to go through it and it's going to suck. But I promise you will forget, like you'll know and remember that there was like those hard times and those sleepless nights. But like a year from now, you're not even going to remember. You're going to be like, I think we had some bad nights like that, if I remember right. But like right now, it's like, you'll forget about it. It's not that bad.
No,
you'll get through it.
And that's the good thing. Yeah. So anyways, that is the update on Baby 4.
It's going to be a girl. I'm putting $100 on it. We're doing an office pool. I need some money from everybody.
Yeah, we should.
That'd be fun.
We should get a vote
on Instagram.
Do a.
Is that illegal? Is that like gambling?
I mean,
if I do it when I'm in Vegas, does that count? Like post it from Las Vegas. How does that work?
I don't know if that works, but
everyone like put in $1. I mean, 50% of the people would probably win something back. You could double your money. Oh man, cool. All right, well let's wrap this up. I'm sure it's getting long because I think we started like an hour ago. I'm looking at the clock over there. Guys, thanks for listening.
Yes.
I know it's like a bunch of rambling on, I feel like, talking about race cars and babies. I don't know. I guess that's what we do on this podcast. So.
Race cars, guns, babies.
But if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, give it a thumbs up, comments, ratings, and all of the things. We would greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.